YouTube, welcome back. Finally, the CDL is upon us. So I know it's not the first home series, but we will get to watch some matches this weekend with the Kickoff Classic. So there will be 3 matches on Saturday, 3 matches on Sunday. They aren't for CDL points. They really are just showcase matches, but we will get a first look at a few things, right? We haven't seen these teams really play Search and Destroy. So I'm excited to see what the search strategies are going to be in terms of what people are trying to do on the map, what they're trying to do on offense. Are they trying to flank? Are they trying to hit mid? Are they trying to like? There's so many different things that goes into search. So I'm excited to see some search action because that's one thing in scrims we don't really get a peek at. There was also some news from around the league from the AM scene and what's going on with backups and who's going to be playing this weekend and who's not, and we'll cover all of that. But first, I want to give you guys my predictions for the 3 matches on Saturday, and then in tomorrow's video, same time, super early on Sunday morning, we'll go over those matches. This is what I do every tournament weekend, and then we'll predict the second day's matches. So you guys know exactly what's happening throughout the entire day, how people played, what ended up happening, and all that. But without further ado, we have the Kickoff Classic. So as we're looking at this, again, we have the 3 matches on Saturday. Unfortunately, we don't get more than this. I did like that there was just kind of a constant slate of matches last year at launch weekend in Minnesota. I know it's a little bit different and they didn't want to tie points to this, but I did like it when we could actually get a little bit more action, right? Each of the teams were playing 2 matches instead of 1, but at least we're getting in the swing of things. Let's not be greedy. But on Saturday, we have 2 really good matchups that I can't wait to watch, and then one where we'll see who might be for real and who maybe isn't ready yet. But the first one, we have New York versus Dallas. So this is obviously one that everybody wanted to see with the storylines with Clay. Used to be on Dallas, now he's over at New York. Unfortunately, I think that this is probably, as it is right now, going to be a bloodbath. I think New York this year, I don't think they have quite the ceiling, the really high ceiling that Dallas did, but I think if you were to put them in power rankings now and put them in power rankings 3 months later, I think they're going to be a team that's much higher just alone based off of getting their rookies involved and a little bit more experience and stuff like that. Unfortunately, this weekend, New York will be playing with Clayster, Mac, and then basically 2 subs because we know that Zuma retired because of the issues with his hands. So Asim will be in. They have been scrimming with Asim basically the entire year so far because there are visa issues with Hydra. He's still over in France. He can't get over yet because of the whole COVID situation. But they'll be playing with Clayster, Mac, Asim, who they've been playing with, and then Diamond Khan is actually going to be the player that replaces Zuma. So I think that squad could probably hold up with some teams in the CDL. I don't think that they're going to be able to hold up with the world champs. I just feel like they have an edge. And maybe if it's not even in Respawn, I do think Dallas with Krim, Illy, Huke, and Shotzi, I do think that they're going to have an edge when it comes to respawns. But where you'll really see the difference between these 2 teams is when they play Search and Destroy. And I think Search and Destroy is going to be the difference maker really the entire weekend. The teams that are more prepared, the teams that have some more veterans, don't have to adjust, have a little bit more strategy from their coaching staff. I mean, if you're thinking about Dallas and you also have Rambo behind you, who's one of the best CDL minds that we've seen in the last decade. So I don't obviously give too much of a chance here to New York. So for this one overall, maybe they could win a Search and Destroy. I'm not the most confident, but I think this is probably going to be a 3-0 for Dallas. I think the Control is one where maybe New York can get it because, again, Control is so defense-sided in this game that if you get a few more kills and you get lucky to have that last defense, maybe you can take a Control. We'll see what happens, but it wouldn't shock me at all if that first one's a 3-0. I want to skip the second one for just, actually, you know what? We'll talk about the second one, then we'll talk about the third one. So second one, we have Seattle versus LAG. When it comes to these two teams, again, some interesting storylines here. So Seattle with Octane, Gunless, Pristini, and Looney. And then with LAG, we have that old squad reunited in Silly, Assault, and Apathy, with the addition of Vivid. So these are two teams that I think most people would agree as of right now are probably in that 9 to 12 range, 8 to 12 range, somewhere in there. So I'm actually excited for this matchup because I want to see like who has the potential to be for real here. Now, the rumor is that Pristini's playing unbelievably well. And if that's the truth, that's a big positive for Seattle because from the beginning of the year, I don't really know how Pristini and Looney stack up with top tier SMGs that you see in Atlanta and Dallas, and you could throw Chicago in there and a bunch of other teams. So that was the area where they were lacking. But so far, when I've seen Seattle in scrims, I'm not seeing the same octane so far. And I don't want to, make a big stink out of this. I don't want to say it's over for this or whatever. Octane last year was just a phenomenon. I mean, he was just incredible. The way he played last year when he got basically no support from the rest of his team, he just played out of his mind. But in scrims this year, I just haven't seen that yet. And I know it's super early. We literally haven't even played a match yet, but those are really the two players. Really, there's three players I'm going to be watching from Seattle. Octane, can he be the same player he was last year? Is Pristini for real? Is he going to be a top SMG? Because we know last year, well, I don't want to get too critical on him, but if he plays better that champs weekend against Atlanta, Chicago's probably in that finals matchup, right? So, not to pin that on one person, but he had like a 0.65 in that Atlanta matchup, which dropped them in the losers bracket. Then we can go on and on from there. But Octane, Pristini, and then what does Gunless do? We know in terms of pure gun skill and kind of playing that flex role, we know that Gunless can be just extraordinary, and he can be the opposite of that. So we'll see if these guys are for real. And on the other side, Silly Assault and Apathy, do they still have the magic that they had from a few years ago? Are they able to replicate a season like that? I don't know. Silly, Apathy, Vivid. Silly, I mean, these guys were subpar players last year. Silly and Assault on Minnesota. Assault was okay. Assault had, I think it was a little bit over a 1 KD, but Silly through the end had like a 0.75 the majority of the end of the year there. So we'll see what they can do, but that's the story. Is I don't think too many people are expecting a lot out of that LAG roster. When they have the subs, like they have Mental on the bench and Chino on the bench, and they have just a full roster basically on the bench. Will some of those start to be called up if the season doesn't start off well? That's another thing to look for. But if I had to make a prediction, this is one that I could probably see being a 3-1, maybe a 3-2. I think these teams are closer than a lot of people think. So to start here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Seattle is going to win this, and I'm going to say it's going to be 3-2. I think that Seattle's better. I think when it comes to search and destroy, their AR and flex can really shine there, and we know the flashy plays that Pristini is possible of making. Or has the potential to make. So I think that could be a major difference there. Again, control, it's up in the air. That could go either way based on who gets 1 or 2 clutch kills. But I'm going to go 3-2 Seattle for the second matchup. And then what I think is going to be for sure the most competitive match of the day, we have Florida versus Atlanta. So these are two teams that I feel are Atlanta's definitely probably top 1 or 2 for me, as I've had them in my power rankings all along. And then Florida's probably top 4, top 5, somewhere in that range. So Florida will be playing this weekend with Awakening, Skies, Slacked, and Neptune. And I think they get a big boost from having Neptune at that SMG position. He is super talented. He can make a ton of flashy plays. In my mind, he might be the breakout player to watch this year. And then just piggybacking off of what they did last year, Awakening and Skies played incredible last year. Skies was one of the best ARs throughout the entirety of last year's season. He was really a breakout player last year. So just a really solid all-around roster from Florida, and nobody really knew how Slacked was going to fit into this. And so far, what I've seen in scrims, he's been playing really well. So I'm excited about this squad. I don't know if, however, they have the firepower to overtake Atlanta, Simp, Abizi, Celium, Arcides. I don't know. I don't see where the weak spots are. You have two of the best SMGs in Simp and Abizi. You have the best flex, in my opinion, in the game in Celium. You have probably the best IGL and top 2, top 3 in terms of pure gun skill AR in Arcides. If he's not number 1, I mean, you could easily put him at number 1 and you'd have no arguments from me. So with these 4, I don't know. I just don't know how you overcome them. I do think it'll be close. I'm going to say this will probably be a 3-1 for Atlanta. Could it be 3-2? Absolutely. Again, we don't quite know what's going to happen in Search and Destroy, but last year, when you're talking about clutch factor, both in round 11s and in map 5s, Atlanta almost never lost. They're the most clutch team on the face of the planet. So if that comes into play, if it goes map 5 or if it goes into a round 11, you can pretty much count that Atlanta is going to end up coming home with that. So I have a 3-1 for Atlanta. Before we get you guys out of here, there are a few things I want to talk about in terms of the news. First of all, when it comes to Florida, this has been put out there that Neptune is the person playing this weekend. So COD League tweeted it out, and I know that's where it's been, but just to make it official, Neptune will be their 4th. Also, when it comes to substitutes, it seems like all of these are out now. There were a couple that were released as of late, like Ravens just released that Afro will be their substitute, but you have Hydra and then potentially Zuma. I think it's interesting that you see quite a bit of coaches on here. Like you have Brian Saint for Rocker. They are going to pick somebody up eventually. That would be my guess. But like down here, Surge, you have Nubsy, and then Optic, you have General. So I think that they'll probably end up picking up somebody once they see who really excels at that AM level. But for now, that's where we're at in terms of the substitute. And of course, this is from CDL Intel. An interesting note, we did see John playing 8s over the weekend. So there is a picture here, and he was playing with some AMs, like Sensor is on his team, Mox is on his team, Spart and Asim were on the opposite team. But that's a name to look out for because we all know that John could potentially be one of the top talents in the league. Sure, he has things to overcome, but if that happens, I would have to think a team would probably make a run at him because he's just a really insane talent. After that, Zero is still in the UK. It does seem like he's probably going to play this weekend, even though he will be in the UK. So if you're a London fan, it might not be the best result for you this weekend. Him being over in the UK, you know his ping is going to be much higher than everybody else. So will they be able to, it says that they tried to scout a top NA talent such as Paul X or somebody like that. But we'll see. They might, it's a show match, so they might just go ahead with Zero. Hopefully that doesn't go on and on into the season. Same with Hydra. Hopefully those guys can get over here and play. After that, Maven and Work, this is the last thing I wanted to talk about, is that their contracts haven't been settled yet. They haven't been finalized. So Maven and Merc will not be on the broadcast this weekend. Don't freak out. I know that it's basically everybody's top picks in terms of commentators, but this weekend you'll have Chance, you'll have Lottie, Miles, Nameless, and a special guest with Mr. X, so a little bit of a throwback there. So basically the same names from last year. You just got to get Maven and Merc in there, and if Study and Lando comes back too. Those are the other two. But just wanted to make sure that we were covering all that. But down in the comments below, let me know, what do you think about my picks? Do you agree with them? Do you think it could go a little bit differently? Do you think maybe Florida could pull an upset, or maybe LAG could upset Seattle? What are you guys thinking? Let me know down below. If you don't mind leaving a like, I would appreciate it, as it really helps out the channel. And with that, thank you guys so much. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.